Stop what you are doing right now. If there is noise around you, let it fall away, let the silence settle. What I am about to say is not for the distracted, not for the scrolling mind, not for whoever arrived here by accident. This is for the one who arrived at this moment, carrying something only God knows the full weight of. You know who you are. You felt it when you saw this. Something in you recognized this moment before your mind could explain why. So stay, because what I need to tell you cannot wait. You let them bury your name. You stayed silent when you had every reason, every right, every piece of evidence to shout the truth from the highest place you could find. You held your tongue when the world was watching, waiting for you to prove something, to defend yourself, to correct the record. And you chose silence instead. That was not weakness, chosen one. Do not let anyone, not even the voice inside your own head, call that weakness ever again. That was the hardest test there is. The test of the buried name, the test of walking through the world, carrying a version of yourself you never agreed to, a story someone else wrote about you without your permission, while you remained still before God. And you passed. Today, something was written into the eternal, not by you, by Him, the one who does not forget, who does not revise his records based on who speaks the loudest or who holds the most social leverage in a given season. What was decreed about your name today did not happen in a courtroom you could see. It did not happen in a comment section or a conversation or a public vindication that the world could applaud. It happened in the invisible realm. And I need to tell you what heaven just carved, because what shifted today changes everything you thought you were losing. You did not arrive here because of an algorithm. Heaven brought you here because the time has come for you to know what is written, not in dust, not in the corrupted memory of those who betrayed you, not in the silence that swallowed your name for a season, but in stone, in hands that do not let go. The Eternal speaks in Isaiah 49, verse 16. Behold, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. Your name is not on the enemy's wall. It is not held hostage in a version of events that was never true. It is pressed into the hands of the one who holds everything. There is a specific kind of pain that belongs to the buried name. It does not announce itself loudly. It lives in the quiet hours, in the 3 a.m. conversation that your mind keeps replaying, the one where your name was destroyed in a room you were not in, by a mouth you trusted, in front of people who would carry that version forward for years. You were not there to correct it. And by the time you found out, the version had already moved. It had already settled into the opinions of people who mattered to you, into decisions about you that had already been made, into rooms that were no longer open to you. Your body knows this wound. You feel it in the way you freeze when that period is mentioned, when someone says that person's name, when you find yourself in a room that feels like a smaller, diminished version of where you should have been. There is a physical weight to carrying a false identity, and what makes it heavier is that you did not choose it. Someone handed it to you without your consent, and then the world expected you to carry it in silence. The money that has not flowed the way it should, the doors that did not open, the opportunities that seem to arrive and then recede without reason. Some of that is not random. Some of that is the downstream consequence of decisions made from a wounded place, from an identity that was operating under siege, from a version of yourself that was fighting a narrative instead of building a future. The exhaustion you have felt is real. It is the cost of carrying the wrong version of yourself for longer than any chosen one should have to. And here is the question that finds you in the quiet. Why did my name stay trapped while the ones who lied about me moved forward? Why did they seem untouched while I was left holding the weight of what they said? Why does injustice move so easily and truth feel so slow? If you have ever asked that question even once in the dark of your own mind where no one could hear it, then I want you to know this message was prepared for you. Lift your hand right now as a prophetic agreement. This is not a gesture. It is a declaration that what God is speaking into your story today is received. Pray this with me. God, grant clarity in the next 72 hours about the next step I cannot see, not the whole road, just the next step. I receive it. And if this is landing in your spirit today, press the like button right now. Not for a number. As a prophetic act of agreement that the buried name is being uncovered, that heaven has heard you, that you are not the story they told about you. There is a guide called the Solomon Code, and it was built for exactly this moment, for the chosen one who has spent a season in the cave, carrying wisdom that the world has not yet been given access to, navigating betrayal and silence and the specific grief of a name that did not receive what it was owed. The guide you are looking for is in the pinned comment. Go there when you are ready. But first, let me show you what David did in the cave. He did not shout. He did not find Saul's generals and make his case. He did not circulate a counter-narrative. He sat in the dark, with enemies sleeping outside the entrance, hunted by the very king whose armor he had carried, whose son had been his closest friend, and he wrote. He wrote Psalm 57 while Saul was sleeping just outside. Be merciful to me, O God, be merciful to me, for in you my soul takes refuge. In the shadow of your wings I will take refuge, till the storms of destruction pass by. The exile, the one whose name had been rewritten as traitor and fugitive across an entire kingdom, wrote what generations would sing thousands of years later. He was composing the architecture of worship, while his reputation lay in ruins. That is the window you are standing in right now. What you are writing in this season, what you are becoming in this silence, is not invisible. It is being read. Your silence was not surrender. Let me say that again with the clarity it deserves. Your silence was not surrender. It was a refusal. A refusal to enter a courtroom that was rigged from the start. A courtroom where the rules were written by the accuser, where the evidence was curated by whoever had the most to gain from your diminishment. David never went before Saul and made his case. He did not write a defense. He did not seek an audience with the people who had accepted the lie, because he understood something that the chosen one learns in the cave. The enemy's greatest victory is not the lie itself. It is getting you to fight the lie on the enemy's terms, on the enemy's ground, in the enemy's timeline. Public defense would have been surrender dressed as courage. The exhaustion you carry is the cost of maintaining integrity in a dirty game. And you maintained it. You did not become what they said you were. That is not nothing. That is everything. That is the thing God is holding when He says your name. Now I want to give you something practical, something you can do tonight. It is called the reverse tribunal technique, drawn from Isaiah 54, verse 17. No weapon that is fashioned against you shall succeed, and you shall refute every tongue that rises against you in judgment. That is your verse. Hear it again. You shall refute every tongue, not God refuting it for you while you watch passively. You, with the authority the verse grants, as the one who brings the case before the court that has actual jurisdiction. Here is how it works. Before you sleep tonight, find a quiet moment. Sitting is fine. And name quietly, not out loud yet, just in your own awareness what was said about you that is not true. Not to ruminate, not to reopen the wound, but to file the case. You are not the accused standing before a verdict. You are the lawyer presenting the evidence to a court that has not yet rendered its ruling. Name what was said. Name who said it. Place it before you clearly, the way a lawyer lays documents on a table. Then, step 2, open your Bible or your Bible app to Isaiah 54:17 and declare it aloud in your own voice, not whispered, spoken. No weapon that is fashioned against you shall succeed, and you shall refute every tongue that rises against you in judgment. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their vindication from me, declares the Lord. Say it. Say it again if you need to. Notice what the text says. You are the one who refutes. The subject shifts. This is not God doing something while you wait. This is you as a servant of the Lord, exercising the authority the covenant grants. Then, step 3, and this is the part that brings rest. Close it. Say these words, or your own version of them. The case has been delivered to the court that has jurisdiction. And release it. Let the file go from your mental hands into the hands that are better equipped to carry it. You have done your part. You named it. You declared the decree. You filed it where it belongs. Now sleep. Do this for 7 consecutive nights and watch what begins to shift. Not just in your circumstances, but in your body. The places that were frozen will begin to soften. The 3 in the morning replaying will begin to quiet. Not because the injustice was reversed instantly, but because you stopped carrying the jurisdiction that was never yours to carry. But here is what I need you to understand. One tool does not replace a system. One act of surrender does not undo years of navigating a wounded identity. The reverse tribunal technique addresses the wound in the night. It does not by itself rebuild what the silence cost you. It does not by itself restore the doors that closed. It does not by itself recalibrate the decisions you have been making from a place of spiritual deficit. You don't need them to pronounce your name. You need to know who has already carved it in stone. That is the shift that changes everything. The moment you stop waiting for a human vindication and receive the divine inscription, the whole orientation of your life reorients. You stop asking, how do I fix what they said, and start asking, what does God say I am now, and what does that require of me going forward? Your era of warfare is over. The era of governing begins. Not the governance of those who fought their way to power and now manage from a posture of exhaustion and suspicion. The governance of those who were refined in the cave, who learned to hold wisdom without wielding it carelessly, who came out of the silence knowing exactly who they are and exactly who they answer to. That is the chosen one who stands on the other side of a buried name, not bitter, not anxious, anchored. The Solomon Code exists for this transition, for the chosen one moving from the cave into the governance of what God is now restoring. It is built around 3 movements. The first is to diagnose the gaps, to look clearly and without self-condemnation at the places where the buried name created decisions, habits and postures that no longer serve the person you are becoming. The second is to quiet the soul, the specific practice of creating the interior conditions that allow wisdom, real wisdom, not reactive intelligence, to guide the next moves. The third is a daily Proverbs-anchored protocol, drawn from the same tradition as the king who asked for wisdom over everything else, designed to govern the restored life with discernment rather than wound. The guide is in the pinned comment. When you are ready, it will be there. Now, one last thing before I let you go, and this one matters to me personally. Where are you watching from right now? City and state, or city and country? Drop it in the comments below. And when you do, I want you to add this 4-word declaration: I know who I am, not as a performance, as a decree. Let the chosen ones speak today. Let the names that were buried in silence begin to rise in the comments, so that the algorithm sees what the enemy tried to suppress, and the community of the chosen knows it is not alone. And if you know someone who has been carrying a buried name, a friend who has been quiet through something they should not have had to carry alone, share this. The seed you plant by sending it to one person may be the word that breaks a season they could not break on their own. If you want to move further, the Solomon Code is waiting in the pinned comment. There is no pressure, no urgency manufactured to manipulate you. But if something in you recognized today's word before your mind could explain why, that recognition is worth following. You did not arrive here by accident. May the wisdom from above be the ground under your feet today. May your name be spoken by heaven with honor, and may you receive that honor in a way that changes how you move, how you build, and how you govern everything He is placing back into your hands. I will see you in the next one. Chosen one.